focus this talk on is mainly.
Sorry, Karolina, I
Ah,
forgot. Is it okay I record this?
oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Of
and
course.
it will just be like because some people asked if I
Yeah.
could share it after, and
No,
then
no
I forgot,
problem.
but then I thought let's do it, right? And
Yeah.
if you have
Yes.
questions that you don't want to be recorded, you can just is there any you can just let me know.
Yeah, no problem.
Is that also any of you guys, if there are any of you, are you okay with that, with the recording thing? Because then you can also see it again if something really, then.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Sorry, Carolina, back to you.
So yeah, the main thing I want to focus on today is how to prevent things happening in our bodies, disease mainly, and talk about a little bit how it builds up, because no disease appears overnight. It's a process that's normally quite slow, and we can stop it at multiple places in the disease stage. And it's very important to realize that we don't have to wait until we are really fully unwell to do something about the body and its health. So prevention is so much better and cheaper and more manageable, yet so little of us choose to go that way, because the human seems to be maybe waiting until things go so bad to take care of their own health. So it's so wonderful, Brit, is having this group so that you can all, stage by stage learn so many different things that will help you really become aware before anything happens in your body. And then obviously once the disease happens, we have to take care of it as well. But the earlier we start, the easier it is. And sometimes the condition may not be fully diagnosed or may not even show in your blood work, blood tests, or even on ultrasounds or MRI, but already something is not quite right. So it's really important to pay attention to the signals that the body sends, because it's trying to help us to understand that something is not right there. And the more we listen and the quicker we respond, the better it will be for the final outcome of healing, for sure. So another beautiful thing about Ayurveda is that it really uses nature, to heal. The human body is very, very intelligent, and it always wants to heal if it's given the right conditions. So that's another thing to remember, is that the body will always try to help you unless we jeopardize its functions, like sleep or not giving the right food or not giving enough rest. Otherwise, the body will always try to help us, and it's a multi-trillion billion dollar machine, that cannot be ever, I think, yet, at least, hopefully not yet, reproduced by an artificial methods. And we have to remember how intelligent it is, and how intelligent our cells are, and how intelligible our everything is. But the difficulty in the current era is that we are challenged by the world, which is highly toxic. And the word toxic is very strong, but unfortunately that seems to be the case. It's almost, maybe it changes country to country, but it seems like it's really difficult to avoid the things that make us unwell. You have to make a real effort, from starting from your everyday water that you drink, to food you take, to the pollution that is around us, to electromagnetic pollution like the Wi-Fi in the phones, and so much more, including pharmaceutical medications, which are highly synthetic, and even, I would say, supplements that we spend a lot of money buying, but they are also synthetic. They're not that different. Maybe they don't have as many side effects as the normal pharmaceuticals, but they're highly synthetic. So the beauty about Ayurveda is that it uses nature, and the simpler the better, starting with the simplest things and building on as required. So anything that you offered in terms of herbs or diet or lifestyle advice, it's meant to derive from nature. It's not meant to copy nature, it means to come from nature. So that's the advantage that Ayurveda has over many other medical systems, which are more modern, I would say. And another thing I want to. Another thing to remember is that the world which we are made of is the same as everything around us. So we are no different to all the plants, all the elements that are, you know, in the nature, because we are made of elements. So our body is made of 5 elements, and so is everything that's natural around you. So the body, the more we synchronize with the nature, and that means actually being in nature and living with the natural rhythms of time and day and night and seasons, and eating food that's coming from the area which you come from. And the closer we are to that, the more the healing potency will be there. So that's another help that Ayurveda points its eye on, is that use what's around you and use everything that's with the rhythm of the nature, you know. So now the modern science is catching up, you know, on simple things like walking on grass might be healthy for you, or, you know, eating what has been just collected from a tree might be more nutritious to you than something that's been stored in a can, or drinking water from a clean place might be very different than taking water which has been heavily processed, or so on, so on. So if you just picture your home and your fridge and your environment, even things you wear, you know, if you just examine, is it really coming from nature, or has it been heavily processed by human, you know, including like simple things, what we put on our skin, what touches your skin, like your genitals, your breast every day. Is it polyester? Is it plastic? Or is it some kind of cotton that hasn't been sprayed with a lot of chemicals? What's in your fridge? Is it something that's, you know, that you know what you can name all the ingredients, or is it stuff that we can't even pronounce the additives and the numbers that have been added? So simple things like this, the more we simplify it, the more natural we make it, the easier it is for our body to avoid any kind of autoimmune conditions, any kind of cancers, any kind of diabetes, mental disorders, gut issues, Parkinson's, dementia, everything. Because all these so-called civilization diseases that are coming so prominent now in the West, especially, including cancer being on such a huge rise. And I'm, by the way, a cancer, so-called cancer survivor. You know, I went through breast cancer a few years ago. So I went into quite a lot of revolution in my own house, throwing away tons of plastic, tons of makeup, tons of perfume, tons of, you know, things that I thought were okay, because I realized they're actually not so okay. And it's a big revolution to make in one's life, because the whole world is doing it. So why can't I, you know? But when you realize and you start going a little bit deeper into it, you realize how actually, and it's not our fault, it's the sort of the, you know, the companies that make enormous amount of money out of us buying this stuff unaware, because it's been advertised in a lovely way. And so what I want to say is, like, the more you understand where things come from, the more you understand that it is really 100% from nature, rather than it's written on the packaging natural, you know, something that's written on a package is natural or organic. It doesn't mean anything anymore these days, because people just use it like a trendy name. But so the more you simplify your life, the less sort of chemically induced it is, the better for you, and the more you can heal from really advanced conditions. So the beauty of the body is that it will always want to heal, even from really so-called chronic incurable conditions. It will always try to find a way to heal, but we have to give it a chance. And being close to nature is one of these things. So just remember about this micro and macro, micro being you, your body, and macro being the world. And this is just to emphasize that it's a picture of a cell on the right and a picture of the universe on the left. So if you really zoom in through a microscope on a cell, maybe this is not 100% the right image. I couldn't find the right image. But, you know, if you zoom into our DNA on the microscope and on the sort of the protons and electrons, and it starts looking like the picture of the universe. You can see the Milky Way, you can see the stars. We are no different, you know, we are really the same. And the reason for that is not some kind of hippie idea. It's really only because we are all made from the same elements. So the fire, the water, the earth, the space, and the air elements. So that's the reason for the similarities, the elements in which we are all made of. And I already touched upon this, but I want to emphasize again, because this is really where Ayurveda plays a huge advantage over many other modern medicine traditions, is that the disease is building in 6 stages. Okay, the first 2 stages, you will not be able to call the disease like, oh, this is arthritis, or this is diabetes, or this is cancer, because it's just beginning, you know, something is not quite digesting well, maybe your sleep is not quite well. The body is hinting by giving you a headache, by giving you an indigestion, by giving you, I don't know, maybe low energy, you can't get up in the morning easily without your coffee, you can't work, this and that. So these are the beginnings, right? And then the next 4 stages, some more symptoms, more significant symptoms will start showing. I don't know, just for example, a bit of rash here and there, or loose motion here and there, or, you know, the symptoms become perhaps showing more often. Instead of once a month, they coming every couple of weeks, or once a week, or every 2 weeks in a day. So they are becoming stronger. And then only the last 2, the 5th and the 6th stage, is where we can so-called diagnose according to modern medicine. Ayurveda can see it very early on before. So when you come for a consultation, you know, we ask you all these things. How is your bowel movement? How is your sleep? How's your poo? Is it formed? Is it loose? You know, people are shocked. Why are we asking these things? It's because we're trying to already figure out what are the early diseases, like stages of the disease, where we cannot maybe name the disease yet. So the problem with the modern medicine is that it will only look at the last 2, 5th and 6th stage, where it's already quite late, where the disease is already quite settled and quite chronic. I give you a very interesting example. For example, thyroid. There's an epidemic of thyroid diseases at the moment, hypothyroid, Hashimoto. It seems to be every second person I see, especially women, has this issue. You choose to do a blood test, and the first 1 to 4 stages, the thyroid will show as normal in the blood work, but it's already affected. And only the last 4th and 5th stage, it will show it's not balanced in the blood work. So it will be diagnosed to hypo or hyperthyroidism. So this is very misleading, because people do the blood work and they think, oh, you know, everything is fine, yet I'm losing my hair, yet I'm putting on weight, yet I'm always cold, or yet I'm this or that. So that's the key. The thyroid is already suffering early, but it's not showing in the blood work, you know. So that's just something to remember. So the conclusion of this point is listen to your body, really listen to your body, and don't neglect what the body is trying to tell you. And your bowel movement is key. The way your tongue looks in the morning is key. The way your energy is key. You know, we're not meant to be waking up exhausted every single morning and having to drink coffee just to open our eyes. That's not, you know, we are, like I told you, $1 trillion machine, which is much more than having to be addicted to a drink just to function. We really have a huge potential to, you know, do so many things, but it seems like sometimes we lose a few points here and there, and then just the body collapses, you know, mainly because it doesn't get the right nutrition or the enough sleep, or it's constantly running on this fight and flight, cortisol, adrenaline high sort of mode. And what I would really encourage you to maybe explore is, don't take any pleasure from sort of being busy, you know. It seems like, I don't know about Denmark, but in England, if you're not busy, it means something is wrong with you, you know. It means you're a failure. It means you're a lazy person. It means Or like if your weekend is not packed full of events and, you know, going here and there, it's not a good weekend. Like it's not a good way to, you know, to be, because we're constantly in the sympathetic nervous system where we constantly having to fight and it's a constant fight and flight mechanism where we never really replenish and never rejuvenate. So, you know, the body can only heal when we under rest and digest nervous system. So that's when you're really resting. That's the only way your cells repair. That's the only way your liver becomes clean. That's the only way your hormones get balanced. We cannot be half in one state, half in the other. We have to be in a full state of repair, rest and digest mode. So the parasympathetic nervous system in order to repair. So this is very key to understand, that you cannot be one leg in one leg in the other. So for all the, you know, it's okay if your job is busy and high paced, but make sure it's balanced with enough rest. And that means good quality rest. It doesn't mean like, you know, having to maybe eat a takeaway on the couch watching a bit of a movie. That's not exactly what a deep rest for the body is. So I just want to point that out. It's very, very important that we get it balanced and not give in to this whole busyness, which is sort of sold to us as something really important to be busy. I think it's completely overrated personally. And you know, only when the disease hits really far, like you get a cancer diagnosis, or you get, I don't know, a diagnosis that you have a disease that's incurable, only then you get a bit of a shock and you slow down, but then it's already late, you know. So I really encourage you to slow down much before, and much before retirement too. You know, don't wait until your retirement to have a more balanced life. So it's quite important. Now, another concept which is key to good health is something called what we call prana. So your life force, your energy, your vitality, your ability to, you know, do a lot without having to be addicted to coffee or energy drinks or sugar. Where does this prana come from? It comes mainly from your food. You know, everything you put through your mouth will give you the energy or take it away from you. But the main thing is that what you take to give you, what if you want to take food to give you energy, that food also have to be energized itself, you know. So it shouldn't be heavily processed. It should be relatively recently be picked. If it's a vegetable or a fruit, it shouldn't really have to fly through the whole world in a massive freezer on multiple planes in multiple plastic packaging in order to reach you, you know. So going back to the point, like, get stuff that really, maybe not everything grows in Denmark, but if you can get at least majority of the things that grow near you, and maybe you even know where they come from, and maybe some of it you even grow yourself if it's at all possible. And also stuff that you understand. If you read a label and you don't understand what it is, basically don't read it, don't eat it. And I want to just do a special point here about the fats, because it's so difficult now to find processed foods that has not been processed with the wrong fats, you know. So anything with vegetable oil, anything with sunflower oil, palm oil, canola oil, soybean oil, that's all highly toxic, because that oil in your body turns into pure toxins, you know. And if you want to buy healthy raisins or healthy cranberries these days, they all, like, if you look at the packaging, it's like 95% raisins and then the rest is added vegetable oil. So just even so-called healthy foods, you know, they've managed to somehow get in all this stuff. So just make informed. Now hopefully, you know, more and more companies are, since more people are in these healthier foods are more in demand, there is more ability to get stuff. But just pay attention to, you know, there's something that's supposedly or is meant to be healthy, that it's definitely healthy, you know. And fats are key here, because even low quality olive oil, which we think is so healthy, if it has been exposed to heat, which some of the olive oils have been, you know, before they give it to us in the shop, it's already toxic, right? So it's meant to be like cold pressed extra virgin olive oil that hasn't been exposed to heat. or honey, which is so wonderful and so healing, but if it's been boiled, and some of, again, the oil of honey, the cheap honeys have been boiled and exposed to heat, that's already becoming toxic. So what I'm trying to say here is that we have to like make a little bit deeper inquiry of what we're buying and what we're using, and making sure that is definitely what we think it is. So I would really recommend that you stay, if you are vegetarian or if you eat meat, then stay to ghee for frying and olive oil for like cold press use, and forget about all these fats that have been heavily processed. So sesame oil is also fine, or olive oil or mustard oil, but if you have in your kitchen any vegetable oil, any sunflower oil, any palm oil, any canola oil, soybean oil, it should end in the bin as soon as possible, because it's what leads to fatty liver, what leads to liver diseases, what leads to thyroid problems, and a lot of issues. So, you know, it looks, maybe it's in a nice bottle, it says vegetable oil. What could be wrong with it? There's a lot wrong with it. So starting with these really basic things, and then your vegetables, your fruits, and if you eat meat and if you eat dairy, sourcing it carefully. There's nothing wrong with eating it if that's what you want to do, but making sure it comes from the right source. You know, another crucial example is like salmon. You know, everybody thinks salmon is so healthy. It is healthy, but it has to be wild salmon from a clear water, like farm salmon. You probably all know this, but farm salmon is, you know, so heavily toxic, full of mercury, which then impacts your thyroid, which impacts your pineal gland. So again, you think you're having a healthy meal, but is it for sure? You know, so check your sources, check where things come from, and especially the same with milk. And there's, in Ayurveda, milk is placed very heavily as a nutritional, you know, rejuvenating substance. But the problem with milk at the moment is that first we're having it cold, which the body can't take. Secondly, it's been skimmed and processed, and the milk has been so heavily broken down that the body can recognize it. Third of all, it comes from cows that eat grains rather than grass. So the poor cow already can't digest in her own stomach. So what is she give us? You know, she's already bloated and everything. Then the poor cow is being fed with oxytocin and antibiotics, so she gives more milk. So that's heavily toxic. And then the last thing is that her calf, her baby, is taken away. So the cow is meant to give a little bit milk first to their baby, and then we're meant to take the rest. But that's not happening because it's not cost effective. So only small hold farms will do that, and then the rest will remove the baby, and the cow is constantly stressed because it's, where is my baby? So she gives milk with full of stress hormone and cortisol. So you know how the milk got such a bad reputation in the last years, and vegan diet became so popular. Is no wonder, actually, because of the industry. You know, these points which I've just mentioned quickly. You know, it's not the same milk that's written in the Ayurvedic text. You know, when you read an Ayurvedic book, you will think, oh, hang on a second, what's going on? Milk is written like recipe for a pregnant woman, is every single recipe has milk, and every single thing for, even for cancer patients, you know, there are some recipes with milk. Whereas when I got on my diagnosis, the first thing I was told to do is to remove all the dairy because it's clogging and tumor forming. But that's also because the milk industry has ruined the quality of the milk. So source your things carefully, and it's still possible here and there to get good quality produce, but what I want to encourage you to do is to pay attention where you're getting it from.
May I just comment on this thing with?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so not sure what it's like in the UK and Poland, but in Denmark, so I just turned 55, and milk has been promoted in schools. Milk has been promoted by, you know, Arla, this huge tier level 1 global company based in Denmark, and promoting. So everybody in Denmark has grown up, it's just a little background information. Everybody in Denmark has grown up mainly with the understanding that milk is needed to build strong bones, teeth, and your child will be healthy. So I I'm not sure if it's all over Denmark, but I think we were one of the first countries all the way back in 2000, maybe 2000 beginning, to have organic milk. So some of the first products in Denmark that were organic, available all over in supermarkets and stuff, were potatoes, carrots, and milk. And now there are some small what are they, dairy production facilities that are all their products like milk, cheese, etc. are organic, and some of them are even inspired by like the Demeter, how to more biodynamic, or sort of that whole rhythm with nature. So it has been, I know we have some people here tonight that are from different parts of Denmark, but I know you can get some milk from Tise mejerierne. That is the original milk, the one that is actually mentioned in Ayurvedic texts to be taken as more healing drink. So it's called, like, with the protein. It's something with the protein is different than the industrialized milk many people have been drinking, and a little lukewarm from the school bag. Do you remember that? Some of you guys, not the best experience, right? But it has. Does any of you know about this? It's called Tisa, and it has, I think it's called A milk or something. Anyway, just to let you know that I won't take much time. It's just to let you know that this Ayurveda is not about feeling guilty if you drink milk or like cheeses. It's just about just looking into the choices. If you can maybe have a little less of some cheese because it might be more expensive when it's organic, but then the whole experience will be just very different when you then enjoy it. And we do have a choice in Denmark to buy more or less organic milk, and also that original Ayurvedic milk where the proteins are a little different and very healthy for us. And I could also talk a lot about milk and cows, but I think Tano has a question. So let's.
Yes, I do. I just wanted to ask, when we're talking about milk, what about coconut milk in a can? Because that's what I normally use. I've tried to go from the cow's milk to a bit more like coconut milk and all sorts of milks, but I think just I've grown up in a home where things in cans is a no-go, and to make coconut milk like from scratch is just really hard. So I just wanted to know your take on the coconut milk in can, and also just, I don't know if everybody knows this, but I don't know. So I just wanted to ask, like, when you open the can, there's like the top the top layer is just like a firm layer of milk cream, I don't know, and the other is water. I just wanted to know, like, is everything milk, or should we separate something when we use it? I haven't really had the answer for that, so I just wanted to ask.
Shall I also answer, Bridge, or you want to
Go ahead.
answer?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so about cans, the main problem with the can is that it's made of aluminium, okay? And the aluminium is a very toxic metal for us, mainly for our pituitary gland. So there are some companies, there's one company I found in this country which doesn't make cans made of aluminium, and they called Biona. I don't know if you have the same company, but they make cans which are non-aluminium cans. So that's number one.
Okay.
We have Biona here in Denmark.
Yeah, so they have cans which are non-aluminium.
And
generally, another thing that Ayurveda would say that yeah, if the food has been stored for a longer period of time, unless it's like a dry grain or like honey or like ghee or wine, or then it loses its prana, it loses its potency. So in a way, making your own coconut milk is so much harder, but it will have more prana. Then another point to consider is if you're living in Denmark, or if you're living in England or Northern Europe, you're living in a cold climate, and coconuts grow in tropical India, Sri Lanka, I don't know what Thailand, right? So we also taking a very cooling substance, okay, and using it in a relatively cold climate. So then you have to think of how much we can cool ourselves further through the winter or autumn, where the body should actually be warming your system. So that's another point to consider, is like not to overdo it, because it's growing purposefully in those hot climates because it's a cooling substance, coconut. So that's another thing. And then the last question you had about separation is purely separation of fat. Okay, the fat floats to the top and the rest becomes water. So coconut it's a fatty substance, so when you keep it for a long time, the fat will naturally separate. So you can just mix it and use everything, because the bottom part is the more of the watery substance. So I would say choosing the right packaging, if you can, non-aluminum, using it in moderation in cold climates, or if you're suffering from a condition that is very of cold nature, stagnation and so on. Obviously, you can balance it with spices, so everything in Ayurveda is a beauty because you can balance it with spice, right? So you can add turmeric to your coconut latte and make it more warm. And then also, if you can make your own, buy a coconut, crack it open, which is very hard to do, and then make it. They sell these machines where you can make it into shreds. Then you add water, you put those shreds in the blender, and then you have a really nice coconut milk. It is a workout, but
then you can sell it to us, Tanu. Then you can do it and you can sell it to us.
Exactly. You do a mass production and then you sell it to everybody.
Like, how long does it stay in the fridge? Like, isn't it like a shorter period of time you can have it on the fridge?
Yeah. I mean, use it within a few days. Okay. The thing with the cans, obviously, and the like coconut milk in cartons, is that they will put a stabilizer, right? They'll put a certain gum. So again, that's something that to preserve it, but not ideally. It's natural.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so I'll move on. Yes. What time do we have to finish, Britt?
We have like half an hour more. Okay, one more question here. Somebody asks about coconut oil. It's kind of nice that we have time to go into depth, isn't it? I'm asking everyone, right?
Yeah, at the same time, I want to share much more, so I don't want to get stuck on one thing.
Maybe we can have one more session with you, but the question is about coconut oil. The one you can use for massages, the one that we can buy here many places. The coconut oil. Is that good to use? The question is.
Okay, so again, just to remember again about a potency, it's a cooling potency. It's much more cooling than vegetable oil and than sunflower. Sorry, what am I saying? Sesame oil or olive oil. It's the coldest, right? Because if you just even picture it, it's normally hard. Only in really hot summer it will melt. So they say, that coconut oil is good to use in a climate where it melts naturally. So sort of it's not in my flat, it melted only once, I think in July. Otherwise it's always solid. So it's very cooling. So if your digestion is very slow, if you are experiencing a lot of stagnation, water retention, weight gain issues, even anything that's related to cold kapha, the coconut oil will not be an ideal choice for you. But for someone who's very heated body, coconut will be a pacifier for the heat. So I would say there isn't, from an Ayurvedic point of view, maybe a simple answer to that, because it's good to select it also seasonally, maybe in the winter use something a little bit more warming.
For the person who's asking, it would be okay to take a little bit of coconut oil, both for eating and also just, for the skin, or just, topping the curls or something. That could be good, I think. But yeah, just in general,
it's cooling.
I used to be one of those people who did a lot of olive oil because it was super healthy and stuff like that. And then I stopped heating it and I used it more for dressing or topping. And now I basically either dry fry or I use a tiny bit of ghee, and it's just enriching that whole feeling, and I don't miss out. I don't feel I miss out, because again, like the milk, I think in Denmark we were sort of raised that, it's super healthy to have olive oil in your kitchen and you pour it on everything. Okay, let's close the oil issue. If you have questions more on that, then just type me and we can do follow-up questions. Okay, go ahead, Karolina.
Okay, perfect. So next point to consider as a prevention to any disease development is your digestive strength. And we call this very briefly Agni, your digestive fire, which I'm sure Brit already has touched upon in her previous talks, or if not, she will, because it's the key to keeping your body healthy is basically whatever you put in your mouth by food or drink, can it break down and give you the maximum nourishment? That's the question, you know. And we all have different levels of digestive fire, and we go through different levels of digestive fire through our life. So I'll just give you a question to ponder upon. If you have fever and you're lying in bed with some kind of virus or something, what happens to your digestive fire then? Do you feel appetite, or do you feel like zero desire to eat? You know, you just want to maybe drink something, if that. What happens to your digestive fire when you're highly stressed? What happens to your digestive fire when you can't go to bathroom, can't eliminate your stool for 2-3 days? You know, what happens to your digestive fire if you haven't slept for 2 or 3 nights? All these things and much more. Or what happens to your digestive fire if you've eaten up to here and you have no space for anymore? So all these things will impact the digestive fire. So you might have invested money in very good food, in the best, most expensive eco products, biodynamic, everything. But if you haven't considered your strength of digestion, in a way, there is a waste in those investments, because the food cannot absorb. So one thing is what's on your plate, and the second thing is what happens with that in your body. Can it nourish all your cells? Can it go through the whole system? So, you know, always just consider eating when you're relaxed, never overeating, never mixing huge amounts of water with food, never eating when the previous meal hasn't digested yet. You know, never eating when you have high fever and you have no appetite, and things like this. So that requires a whole lecture in itself. So I just want to quickly touch upon it. But what I'm trying to say is that it's not only important what's on your plate, but what happens with it later. Even the process of chewing, masticating the food and swallowing it when it's already semi-solid, that's a huge help for your digestive fire, because our stomach doesn't have teeth. It cannot chew. So it's really going through huge amount of effort if we're swallowing fast, you know, like talking on the phone, swallowing a sandwich quickly in 5-minute lunch break, or when we're eating completely stressed and the stomach is like this opens the whole lecture about, you know, comfort eating when you're stressed, when you're depressed. Really, what happens with that food? It doesn't give you any nourishment, and B, it creates high level of toxicity because the food cannot break down. Or what if you go to the most fancy, eco-friendly, biodynamic restaurant, but you overeat? It's like putting, you know, if you imagine a blender and you stuff it full, like absolutely full, and you try to spin it, it can't spin. Or if you put your washing machine like totally full, some of the sock will come out dry, you know, because even it couldn't spin. So the same in your stomach, there has to be a little bit of space so it can spin, so the body can absorb and it can process. So I just want to point out that almost all the diseases in Ayurveda come from impaired digestion. You know, the very beginning is in some kind of digestive issue. And some of it, you know, I ask on my consultation form, do you have any digestive problems? People say no. And then we do a consultation and then we go deeply into it. And the stool is not formed. They are burping, you know, they are having gas after every meal. They have no appetite. So even though so-called no digestive issues, yet so many digestive issues, you know. So you should feel quite light after you've eaten, or like you should be able to digest it without pain in your stomach, without gas in your stomach, without stool being loose or very hard. So all these things, obviously nothing is perfect and we have to fix it as we go. A simple thing like taking a flight will already impact us, you know, or like no, or like I don't know, for example, having like I was saying, when we have a cold or viral fever or all these things with COVID now, the digestion goes really down. So we then have to really take care to eat something that's light and warm and not too late at night and so on. So just something to think about and maybe something to read upon, because Ayurveda has so much to say about digestion.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, of course.
So far, I'm just drinking it all up. It's so amazing the way it's lovely, right? Yeah. If you have any questions, just talking to everybody, you can write them down in the chat because and of course, Karolina, I didn't have a chance to see the whole sort of presentation where you could pick from the basic things. It's always lovely to hear them again and in different ways, and it brings up new questions every time. I just really wondered if somebody out there is sitting, being curious, and myself too, this extra awareness that our tissue is different from men's, right? Like it's like our hormonal, I mean, it's all the same for us in terms of toxic environment, but some of the women I know now are going through menopause or coming to menopause, and of course we can't have time to go in. That's a whole different session to go into what actually happens if you have something with you that will then be brought up again after some time, something you thought you were done with, things like that. But what about the hormones, plastic, tofu, plant milk, toxins, things like that? If you have a slide on that, or what did you, or should we touch on that another time? Like sort of if we go now, this is really beautiful all over, like how to stay healthy, and this is super important. The way you present it is absolutely lovely. I love it. But it's just if you had something like some cases or something you would like to share, up to you, because Karolina has so many clients and so many years of experience. So I really, for me, this is so heartbreaking that young women come and have all sorts of, you know, smaller things, but also further along in the stages of the 6 stages of diseases. And it's like the stress, the quality of the food, the not being aware that you actually can do a lot of things for yourself, like all the things you mentioned now, right? It was just if there was something, or if you have questions, anyone out there, would that be okay? Of course, knowing that you can't go into personal consultation, that's not what it's about. It's more that if you had something, and Caroline already something.
I don't know if I'm getting your question, because that's what this talk is about. It's about how to balance the toxic world with what we can actually do. And for example, a strong Agni, just to touch upon where we are now, will allow you to protect yourself from a lot of toxins coming your way. The main thing I would like to point out is water, actually. Let me just go to...
I didn't mean to cut through what you...
Yeah, because actually it's not exactly all about, plastic or no plastic. It's about how strong your body is to withstand the conditions. That's what it's all about. And that's what Ayurveda can offer you. So the more stronger the Agni, for example, where we are now, the more you can manage. So sometimes if you do end up eating something not so great, you can still protect yourself. You can still break it down. But coming back to your question on toxicity, so I would say water is the main thing to look at, is because of the fluoride. I don't know the state of Denmark and fluoride, because each country has its own regulation. Do you know, Britt?
Yes, we are at some point quite lucky in Denmark, because to my knowledge, unless there is suddenly discovered some sort of a water drill with some problems, we do not have chloride or fluorides in our drinking water, to my knowledge.
That's very good.
But I don't know if some of you ladies remember when we were younger at school, we would actually have to sit with fluoride in
your mouth.
because it was supposed to be healthy for our teeth.
Exactly.
Did any of you do that? And they were blue afterwards, and it's like a lot of my friends this age where we did it actually have thyroid problems. But
so I want to talk about fluoride.
We can drink water from the tap.
Yeah, so that's really lucky, because US, UK, a lot of other countries have fluoridated water. So if you're very lucky to have it out of your water, then at least make sure you have it out of your toothpaste as well, and you don't use any mouthwash, any kind of dental floss with fluoride. And actually it's also added to some multivitamins, believe it or not, especially the ones for the babies. So the problem of fluoride is that it calcifies your pituitary gland, which is your pituitary gland is important for many things, including spiritual development and being able to grow and make your own decisions and see the reality as it is. But it's also very important to create melatonin. And fluoride stops the production of healthy melatonin in the body. And when that happens, you're not able to sleep properly. And even if you take synthetic melatonin, which actually makes it worse, it's not solving the problem. So fluoride is a very dangerous substance. So is aluminium. You know, aluminium also is in the foil, which we use for baking. Yeah. It's in your cans, which we already discussed. It's added to a lot of cleaning products in your household. It's added also in water in some countries. So the third substance that you could be made aware of is mercury. Okay, mercury is added in flu shots, in so-called other, I'm not gonna go into a whole debate about, you know, vaccines or no vaccines, but it's added to all sorts of vaccines. It's added to your fillings, or at least used to be. Even if you have it from the 80s, from the 70s, if you're unlucky to have one of those mercury fillings, it's basically dribbling away traces of mercury, which is dangerous for any sort of cancer-related issues. So mercury is another one to look upon. And mercury is the first thing that will take your thyroid out of control, which again is related for females to your breasts. Okay, so most women who have breast-related issues or will have breast-related issues have had their thyroid at some point out of balance and have lack of iodine. And mercury behaves in the thyroid like iodine. So the thyroid will always take will always take up mercury instead of iodine, and mimics the iodine. So that's another thing to think about. So these three heavy metals, and obviously the good thing is that you can clean heavy metals from your body. Simple things like, cilantro extracts at high, are wonderful, and there are ADAA and other ways, panchakarma and other ways to clean. So it's very important to clean. You can check the heavy metal toxicity in your blood work. But if you have root fillings with mercury, if you're drinking fluoride water, if you're using fluoride toothpaste, if you're using aluminium for cooking, or then it's good to think about stopping.
I will send people like a list of the things I know, the products that I have been using without these things, and maybe some of you want to try it out. Maybe some of you are fine with what you use. It's just everything here is just inspirational, but I'll send it because there are lots of places we can get it all over Denmark. We have like 10
I
different.
think Denmark is so good because it's
It's
one
so
of the countries that you have.
highly regulated. Yeah.
It's
So
really, really good.
yeah, but then again,
I mean, in a sense that there are countries where things are higher. Like if you live in America, it gets much more complicated,
Yeah. But I will send out a list with suggestions to those of you who would like that, like toothpaste, things like that. So I'll just send. Yeah.
And then the last thing to, if we're talking about all these sort of things that may not be so good for us, is plastic. And that keeping the water in plastic, keeping your food in plastic, keeping plastic around your house. And that's also polyester or viscose, which we wear in your clothes. You'll be surprised how hard it is to find 100% cotton underwear. Like, the area that's most like closest to our body, the underpants and the bra, to get a bra that's made of cotton, or to get pants out of cotton, is almost impossible. Like everything has polyester and elastane added, and you're wearing basically plastic around your body day and night, and you're sweating into it. So it absorbs, micro absorption happens through the skin. And plastic, when it comes to estrogen, when we come to female health, again, mimics what we call xenoestrogen. So as you know, with breast cancer, for example, that's positive for estrogen. It's what takes estrogen out of balance. So xenoestrogens are mimicking. So is perfume, so is makeup. So it's not all the makeup, but the chemical makeup or cleaning products, they're all full of xenoestrogens. So is chlorine in the water and fluoride and all that. So it behaves like something that takes your estrogen out of balance. And so is HRT and a pill, which we are all very comfortably put on by quite quickly by the gynecologists, you know, for skin issues, for this, for that, for trying to get rid of hot flashes. Very quickly, the female are put on all these medication, but without any kind of understanding where it might lead in 5-10 years down the line. So I don't know if that, Britt, answers your question, but
Lovely, lovely. No, it's lovely.
yeah, but basically, it's sometimes you feel like you can't win because everything, we go to the shop and everything is full of this stuff, and then you go to the doctor and then they give you this stuff to eat, or you know, the medicine what you want to give to your beautiful newborn is, you know, like I told you, it's got fluoride in it. So when the poor child goes to school like we were as kids, and every Thursday the lady comes with fluoride, you know, and we think it's wonderful, and you know, and it's just, where is this all coming from, you know? So
But at least now,
that's the thing.
at least the awareness and the reminder for everybody that, you know, oh yeah, maybe we could just do that. And just also for me, like I've been living like everybody has been like saying, oh my God, can't you just do this? Can't you just do that for so many years? But one thing that you did remind me of now is that this whole plastic thing, I mean, I didn't even think about it, that because I'm so much into the organic food, and I use actually coconut oil to just clean my skin, or just water and things like that. I save so much money. I don't need to buy tax-free things when I travel. I just like, but then again, it's true, like so much plastic is in your home anyway, and it does sort of create this environment. So I'm just gonna take it easy, but it was a big inspiration to just be reminded, oh yeah, oh my God, that's even the sofa I know that's been impregnated with some sort of chemicals to prevent it from burning if a fire catches on, which is maybe kind of nice. But
I mean, it's always a
it's
middle
not
path, you know.
necessary, right? So it's like that whole thing of at least the things you cannot avoid, you accept, but the things
Yeah,
that you can do something about, it's nice. Just like changing the toothpaste, or just like finding a natural perfume instead of like some other really nice perfume that maybe costs, I don't know, 100 euro. And then suddenly you realize you can get organic, beautiful perfumes. More and more are coming out now in Denmark that are actually 100% natural, organic, and costs like 1/3 of the perfume you would usually buy. So things like that.
exactly.
Nice to be
Yeah,
inspired,
yeah.
I
So
think.
I would say,
You
instead
guys.
of
Oh.
becoming completely obsessed, you know, and like the one that you will not, you lose all your friends because you're living this
I already
lifestyle.
lost them.
No,
They're
I'm
coming
just
back.
saying, like,
Just kidding.
I'm giving you sort of the sort of these things now, but we obviously live in the world, and we have to live in the world, and we have to, you know, we have to sometimes go to a restaurant and get on planes and go to hotels and maybe buy things that are not perfect. So that's all good. So where I want to come back to it is creating enough strength in your acne, cleaning your body periodically, because even if you're really careful, you know, how do we know what's actually coming from the sky? You know, there's a lot of things coming down on us from the sky every day. You know, there's a lot of things in the electromagnetic field that we can't see. We have no control. We have to live in the world, unless we are, you know, in a forest, on a mountain. Very, very difficult. But none of us are doing this lifestyle. So what I'm trying to say is, I think it's a two-way approach. Where you can make choices, you make your wise choices. And when you can't make choices, you still are happy. You still enjoy what you want to have, but clean your body periodically. And that's why panchakarma comes in. And that's why maybe for those who can, a little bit of fasting comes in here and there. And then looking at cleaning your liver periodically, cleaning your gallbladder.
There's gonna be like a fall cleanse. Like I always offer, and other people here too, like or a fall cleanse that you can
Perfect.
get home or with treatments, and Panchakarma will then be either Germany or India or Sri Lanka. Karolina is having a beautiful
Yeah, so we can't win always, but then we can make it, we can make it better sometimes, and we can clean the system. So in a way, there is always a way out of
Any
this.
questions? Any questions from you ladies out there? Is it inspiring? I mean, I hope so. You're smiling, you're nodding. Any questions? It's amazing we have Karolina, because seriously, when we tried to get together to even plan this, right? Then you were busy late nights at work. I was busy. So it's really a chance if you want to ask anything from her. Or you're just absorbing it like sponges going all the goodness. Okay. It's lovely. Okay, go ahead, Karolina.
Okay. How much more time do I have, Britt?
You have like 20 minutes.
20 minutes. Okay, perfect. So let's see where we get to. I'm not going to rush it, but let's see. So this is another very interesting concept about the Ayurveda has to offer. And this is the concept of tissues in your body. So, everything that comes by mouth will go through this circle in which you can see here on the screen. So every single substance will turn into a plasma, which is called rasa. You don't have to remember the names. It's not important, but I just want to show you that the metabolism and absorption in your body is not simple just on a stomach level, that you can digest your meal in 2 hours and that's it. The food which you take, the drinks which you take, poisonous or non-poisonous, will stay in your body for a while. Okay, so from your what we call rasa, so your loosely translated as plasma, that goes into your blood called rakta. I'm looking from the left, going to the right. Then that will form your muscle called mamsa. That will form your meda, your fat tissue. That will form your bones, your asti. Then that will form your bone marrow, maja, and that will form your shukra. So that is your reproductive fluids for female, the egg, for the man, the sperm. And from that, this is the important thing here, you get something called ojas, which is your immunity, your glow, your ability to withstand difficulty physically, mentally, your intelligence, your luster, your ability to stay young for long periods of time, many things. So ojas is many, many things. It lives in the body, it also lives in the heart. So what I'm trying to say here, you don't have to remember these names, that's not important, but the food that you take today will stay in your body for many, many, many days. So will the drugs you take, so will the alcohol you take, so will the paracetamol you just have today for your migraine. It's not leaving your body by tomorrow, okay? It's staying in your system and it's going through the cycle. If your metabolism is good, if your agni is good, it will go very smoothly through the cycle and nourish all the tissues. If at some point your metabolism is not right, it will get stuck at some point. Maybe it will get stuck, for example, at the meda, at the fat tissue, and there's a problem with weight. Or maybe it will get stuck at shukra, the reproductive fluids, and then you can't get pregnant. Or it will get stuck in the bone metabolism level, and there's a problem with the bones. And for example, the byproduct of your bones is your hair and your nails. So then you will see it in that. So what I'm trying to say is this metabolism is much, much more, your agni is much more than your stomach, is keeping it healthy all over your body. And when that happens, when this circle moves smoothly, the disease doesn't have much chance to develop. Okay, so how you take your food, the state of mind in which you take your food, the breaks in between and that you give in between each meal, the developing the real hunger before you eat, that all helps this circle to go well. So this is one more issue I wanted to, and again, this could be a lecture in itself, but just so you understand that stomach is not just one place where metabolism happens. It happens in every single cell of your body. So when you do these periodical cleanses like panchakarma or detox, you're cleansing Ayurveda has a beautiful way that other detox programs don't really have, is to clean you on a cellular level, to clean you on the level of these dhatus. So you can really, really clean rather than just, doing an enema with plain water and cleansing your bowel. It's not as simple as that. If you really want to cleanse your body, you have to go deeply into your cells. And then I don't know if I should touch upon this, but the best way to keep yourself healthy is to do it a little bit on a daily basis in your house without having to spend tons of money going here and there, just little bit by little bit. And what I would say is, I'm going to skip these slides, which we can do maybe another time. But I would say this is very important, is staying with the clock. Okay, this is already 100% winner for your thyroid, for your hormones, for your liver. If you can go to bed on time, and I know everybody says the same thing, and it's so hard to do because there are many films to watch, and you just put your kids to bed and you have just 2 hours in the evening for yourself, and you want to read your book and stuff. But if you can go to bed before 10 or before 11, your whole metabolism will be different. Your hunger level will be different. Your serotonin, which is your happy hormone, will be different. I mean, towards the positive. Your melatonin will start functioning well, which again has impact on your thyroid and all the organs. So if you can, and Ayurveda says that as the first thing in the dinacharya, the daily routine, go to bed early and wake up early. And it's not just for the sake of nothing, it's for the sake of regulating your whole body. And if you can wake up early and look at the sun, go out and actually physically connect your eyes with the sun, your whole hormone level will get regulated for the whole 24 hours, you know? And that means going out of your house and connecting with the rays hitting your eye. Then you don't have to take synthetic melatonin. You don't have to take sleeping pills, because your body knows what to do. Your body is so intelligent, but we have to stay in the time. And here on the right, you can see this is actually, sorry for the low resolution, I couldn't get the right slide, but your liver, for example, you know, which is so important for any chronic diseases like cancer, diabetes. Liver is key because liver manages to metabolize all the toxins, which we have been talking about, all these plastics, all this nonsense that I've been trying to explain over the last half an hour. If your liver is functioning well, it will protect you. But the liver is having its peak between midnight and 2 o'clock. That's when we should be in the deep sleep, okay? That's not when we should be watching the next Netflix episode. So because the liver will simply not regulate its function. The same gallbladder is so linked to estrogen. This is my new revelation from the last 3 years of work, how a problem of a gallbladder is linked with an estrogen metabolism like problem, like HRT will make your gallbladder dysfunction. And there's a huge link between women's health and gallbladder, which is worth looking at. And again, gallbladder will be rebuilding itself from around midnight to 2 a.m. at night. So again, that's when we should be sleeping, okay? And look at the other level at 2 p.m. if you can see. The afternoon, that's when your small intestine is working maximum, and that's when you should be having your biggest meal. That's when your body is able to digest. So the meal should really be much bigger then, rather than in the evening when we have a completely different organ working at this. So what the whole thing about dinacharya, which is the daily routine, is trying to follow the clock so that you sleeping when your body wants to rejuvenate, you're eating when you have maximum capacity in your stomach and intestines to digest, and you're moving your body in the morning when it needs to be moved. For example, you look at, again, sorry for the low resolution, but it's 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. it's large intestine. That's the moment to get up and go to bathroom and eliminate your bowel. That's to go and, you know, get rid of the waste from the previous day before you eat your breakfast, before you do anything. That's when your mind becomes light and your stomach becomes ready to eat anything else. And also that's the moment where the body is able to do it, because that's when it's functioning best. So this is another beauty of Ayurveda. It connects you with the natural, and you don't need research papers about it. You just need to look at the sun and look at the moon and see when it gets. Obviously, the difficulty we have in our climate is that the day and night changes throughout the year. In India, it's 6 a.m., 6 p.m. So it's much easier for them to maintain the clock. But, you know, we just have to have a different routine in the winter and different routine in the summer. That's basically adjusting to the seasons.
Would it be okay with a question?
Yeah.
And thank you
course.
again. I mean, it's so inspiring to listen to, dear. So, you know, this whole concept of fasting, it sort of comes and goes, being fashionable to have this intermittent
Sorry.
fasting, etc., etc. So there's a question here on fasting. Is that healthy or not? What do you recommend?
Okay, so this again requires looking at the
Mhm.
case-to-case scenario. So for people who have, I don't know how much introduction you had to the doshas. You had, right, before?
Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. So person, for example, where kapha is dominating, these people will find it much easier to fast. Okay, they have a lot of earth and water energy in their system, and they can fast without their mind being affected too much. But then there are people where the air element is dominant, vata, for example, and it's sometimes throws these people, long periods of fasting throws these people off, makes their vata go up, because fasting is vata, it's called langana, so it's a lightening therapy, which makes vata, so the air element is already light. Okay, so when we fast, we are adding to the vata. So you have to look on a scenario 1-to-1 and also understand if we are very weak, okay, the fasting is going to weaker us further. If we are in the elderly time of our age, it's going to weaker us more. If we are post, I don't know, some heavy viral condition which just wiped us out, maybe then you have to nourish yourself more. So I would say answering if fasting is good or bad would depend on the state of your dosha in your body, okay, the level of strength, your age, and also what are you doing during the fasting. Can you mentally detach from work? Can you switch off your phone? Can you, or do you have to be available? Do you have to be flying? Do you have to be taking a train? Do you have to be feeding your kids 3 times a day? Because fasting should be the same way as you fast physically, you should also be fasting mentally at that time. You should not be straining yourself, with screen, with work, with coffee, with travel, because that's where you're increasing your vata, and fasting is already increasing your vata. So vata plus vata, maybe already vata type, how will that make you feel? It will make you feel jittery. It will make you feel really restless. It will give you, so equally, if you're in a calm environment, supported, if you can take rest, and fasting is so wonderful in terms of like metabolic diseases like diabetes, or cancer, when you can do intermittent fasting, in those cases, in a calm environment, drinking warm things, resting, it's medicine in itself. Or rheumatoid arthritis, which is toxicity in your joints. If you can remove that toxicity by fasting, excellent. You don't have to take millions of medicines. But fasting means taking rest. Fasting means slowing down. Fasting means being warm. Fasting means not menstruating at that time, okay, and so much more. And maybe for pitta people, a lot of skipping a meal already gives them the huge migraine. So that's then what you can do as an option is maybe have a liquid diet. You can have a soup, or you can have a juice, or you can have something that's not full fasting but allowing your digestive system to rest. Like a green soup will be different from having a steak, right? It's not full fast, but it's semi-fast for that kind of person. And also fasting requires a little bit of mental, I think there are different levels of fasting. There are fasting where people go on water for 25 days, and there are fasting where people don't eat for 16 hours. So,
And it's important with some sort of a practice, maybe some soft yoga, some pranayama, because your emotions will also start regulating by going a little off.
yeah.
But it's a lovely question. We need to do this again. So there's one more from Sheila
Yeah.
about feeling exhausted after eating specific foods like pasta. And is that perhaps some gluten allergy, or is it the time you eat, or do you have any comment on the pasta part?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so a few things maybe to consider.
Mhm.
Another misfortune that the same as dairy got is wheat, right? Again, everything is so gluten-free now. It's like a new trend of gluten-free, gluten-free restaurants, gluten-free bakeries, gluten-free everything.
Vegan, gluten-free,
Yeah,
tomato-free, everything.
yeah. I mean, people are cashing in on that, that's for sure. But anyway, that's another strain of thought. what the problem is with the wheat these days is that is genetically modified at the seed level. So it's corn, so it's soya. Okay, so very difficult to find the original wheat seed. So what it means, genetically modified, it means that it has gone through some kind of man-made process where your cells can no longer recognize what it is. Okay, so that's the problem with wheat, according to what I have studied. So if you can get grains that they're the original,
Like spelt? Like
yeah, the original types of spelt, like there are different types of spelt, or like if you can get the original types of millet, I really highly recommend the Kurakan flour, which is the wild millet, which is gluten-free, by the way, but equally satisfying as eating a.
wild millet. I love millet, but wild? Okay, why?
So Kurakan, look at the Kurakan.
Mhm.
And beautiful thing about millet also is the only grain that's alkalized in your system rather than making it acidic. Okay.
Mm.
So that's the thing about the pasta. Another thing is obviously how much pasta do you eat? What do you have it with? Yeah, that's another thing. Is it full of cheese, which equally makes it, is it full of mature cheese, which is the highest type, the heaviest type of cheese? Do you have it late at night where your digestion is already weak? Do you have already a digestive issue, like already developed, where this is just like a cherry on the cake, which just spills over your digestive issues? So I would say strengthen your agni. Okay, one thing. Don't eat it late. Maybe moderation in terms of the amount. And then see how you feel with pasta that's maybe made of something different than the typical white processed type of wheat. Because wheat, when it's been processed, it's also it's the same way as milk that has been heavily skimmed, right? It's gone through the mechanical process. So if you at least have something whole grain, and if you can find non-GMO substitute of the wild and old types of grains, that's wonderful. So something to think about. But coming back to the point which I made maybe 10 minutes ago, if your agni is good, if it's strong, if you're giving it good rest, if you're really taking care of it daily through your sleep on time, through your periodical fasting or periodical panchakarma, or not overeating, all these things we've been mentioning before, then now and again, even if you go to a restaurant, even if it's terrible pasta, even if it's with cheese, your body can manage it. Okay, so I would say instead of removing everything from your diet and making it just gluten-free and vegan and eco-friendly and just 5 produce, I only eat cucumbers and carrots, instead of that, and making your life quite kind of, because we meant to have not a mono diet, we meant to be exposed to all the tastes. So it's not good idea to just remove everything and I'm free of that and free of that and free of that, and then you go out and you have nothing to eat and it's very miserable experience. So instead of that, strengthen your digestive fire, eat well at home, and then now and again when you have something, you can handle it, and take care of your bowel movement. That's the first thing. Make sure you go to toilet every day or twice a day in some cases. So that's another thing. Remove the waste from your body so that the body is able to deal with stuff.
I really love to recommend Trifala to people, and then maybe doing it like for a week or two and see how it works out for people, because Trifala is available most parts of health shops around Denmark, or you can also buy it via me or other places, and we post it, and it's so gentle and so non sort of invading into the system, and just to sort of get it going. It would be nice, So I will include that in the list that I'm gonna send to you. I'm gonna make a post, I think, in a study group, just like a short sum up. I know you made probably notes yourself. It was just I promised to send you these different places we could buy things. You have like 2 or 3 minutes to just round up something you wanna.
So I'll just go through. I think maybe I'll finish on water because it's something we do every day, and it's very important. Few things about water, the last points of this tonight's talk. First of all, let the water sit. Don't drink it straight from the tap, even if you have a filter on your tap, because the water that's been traveling through the pipes, it's very energized in a sense that it's buzzing. If you put it under the microscope, it will be buzzing. It will be very what to say. Yeah, it's not calm. Okay, so
It'll
it's
be messy.
beautiful pictures you can see on the internet where water droplets are put under microscope, and what you can see, even when you give positive vibration to the water, what happens to the water, what happens when you curse it, it becomes, you know, it's incredible. So one thing I would say, keep the water still, either in stainless steel or use copper. You should not overdo the copper because it's also too much. It's a mineral, but traditionally you can keep it overnight in copper, or in India they keep it in clay pots like this, if you can get a good quality clay pot, or a simple stainless steel or glass. Yeah, so Brit has that. But keeping the water still so that when you pour it in the morning, it's calm. Okay. The second thing is, we already discussed the fluoride, the chlorine. You're lucky that you don't have it, which is wonderful. If you do travel to countries that do have it, then make sure you really filter it. And not all the filters, like a simple Brita filter, doesn't take any chloride away or fluoride. If you boil the water, it also doesn't do it. So it needs a high level of filtration. Another thing is, if you are lucky enough to get spring water from a place that's alive, that water is then alive. So drink that water. Don't, you know, there's a whole way of when people distill the water, but it basically makes it dead. Yeah. So then, you know, it removes all the minerals and salt. So the water should be alive. And if you're lucky enough to be able to get alkaline water, if you want to heal yourself, if you have a chronic condition such as cancer, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, if you can drink certain amount of water in your day that's alkaline, okay, so that's alkaline pH like 8.5 or 9, you cannot drink it all the time, but some of it at least, that already is a huge bonus for your system to recover.
Something about that, because it's been quite sort of promoted that alkaline water you can make yourself by putting in cucumber squares or things like that. Is that? I know you're talking about something else, but would that be sort of in between, or what?
I actually don't know if the cucumber, I think cucumber will not alkalize the water, although I can test it by tomorrow. I have the alkaline strips,
Okay.
so I'll test it.
Okay.
But what's
This is going
alkalizing
on like
well, lemon is
different
slightly alkalizing,
and things going like it'll be
but
alkaline if you put.
if you drink spring water,
Mm.
if you can have access, I don't know about Denmark, if you have access to any kind of real spring water, it's wonderful. If you have a well somewhere on your property and you can get a real water, wonderful, you know. If not, then you can buy alkaline water, especially if you have a condition, you know. And then there are systems which you can put on your taps. It's called Keegan water system. There's 3 more where you can choose the pH of your water.
Oh.
It will change the pH of the
We
water.
have something in Denmark which is actually a Danish company that is being used also by like top companies, and it's been made into a documentary as well. I can share it with you about. It's very beautiful how water can be kept alive and the effect it has on us. But well, yeah, I can also put that on a list to share with you. It's actually a Danish company, and they actually use geometry that is sacred from Vedic science. They use the flower of life inside of their instruments. Sæt tak for i aften, Mette. It's true. It is 9:30 now. Sæt tak, Mette.
So I just leave you with my contact in case I had much more to share, but I've obviously, as always, have overestimated the time. So hang on, so this is my email. If you want to ask anything later that you couldn't answer, ask now or I didn't answer. And this is my phone number on WhatsApp. So you're always welcome to contact me or via Brit. And this is my name of my
talk about if
clinic.
somebody wants to come, you know, maybe at some of your lovely retreats. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, so if you ever want to come to Panchakarma in India, or have a rejuvenation type of retreat away in the winter, away from the cold and grim, then I run retreats regularly, pretty much every year. So this year, here I put the slides, you can have a look. So this is a retreat in India, which is a Panchakarma retreat, which is where you would be having a treatment which is decided on the individual basis It's a
I think
2-week program.
I think I'll gather up all the programs because by experience, sorry that I'm cutting you off, dear. It's just because
Yeah.
it's late here. It's 9:50.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I
Okay,
really
no
love
problem.
keeping
So
it.
this is my
But
email
also,
anyway. You have
so
it.
I will gather
And
all the things from you,
yeah, of
and
course.
everything, and then maybe if we can see if you will have time to do another one at some point. We can see when you have time. That would be so
Sure,
lovely.
sure. Anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for your attention, for giving up your evening. I hope I didn't depress you with all the chemicals, fluoride and all the stuff, but hopefully it was a balance about what to avoid, but also what to do to protect yourself. So thank you.
So, all my dear people, could you be kind enough just to, because there's always this feeling, I know most of you, and to sort of just jump in here, could you just be kind enough, like some of you did, like, thank you for tonight, thank you, thank you. Could you just be kind to just write, if you know, just a little thing before we log on, if you want to. And I'll get back to, of course, everybody's smiling, everybody's still here, so that's a good sign, Karolina.
All right. Sleep well.
Wait a
And
second.
sorry, I keep
Wait a second.
jumping through the sky.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you jump back to your screen, full screen,
Yeah, of course.
and just read what people are writing? Thanks for your time. It was so nice. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All of you are happy. I'm also thanking. Okay, everybody's happy. Of course. So let's round up with like being quiet and taking attention to the heart area or wherever it naturally goes, but just digesting all this beautiful light on the magic of the body and the mind and everything we are. Just feel how nurturing it was to spend this time. Much, just a different flavor than the romantic movie from the Netflix, but something to think about. So just take a breath in. We just sing one Om together. Om. Thank you, dear ones. I'll ask Karolina if we can do one more at some point. Have a wonderful rest. Remember that what I share sometimes, but I think it's a good thing. When you go to bed, feel like you're under this magic umbrella of stars and love and the macrocosmos just supporting you. Like you said, the most beautiful thing I will take away tonight, Karolina, is the reminder that the body wants to heal. We are amazing. The body wants to heal, and something bigger than this one here is actually supporting us in that process. So you can rest, have a lovely, rejuvenating rest. Thank you, Karolina, and thank you everyone for joining, okay? Good night. See you. Bye. So, go like ending. Shoop.